Ever found yourself in that tight spot? Unexpected bill? A sudden opportunity you just can't miss? We've all been there. That moment when payday feels like a distant dream and you're left wondering how to bridge the gap. You work hard for your money day in and day out. But sometimes life throws curveballs and waiting 2 weeks or even a month for your full paycheck can feel like an eternity. In today's fast-paced world, financial flexibility is becoming less of a luxury and more of a necessity. We're constantly seeking solutions that empower us to manage our finances with greater control and ease. And that's where innovative platforms like Zayzoon come into the picture, offering a different way to think about accessing the money you've already earned. So, let's dive deep into the specifics of Zayzoon and explore the factors that determine how much of your wages you can access. It's not a simple, one-size-fits-all answer, as several elements come into play. We'll break down each of these components to give you a clear and comprehensive understanding. First and foremost, Zayzoon isn't a loan. It's important to understand this fundamental difference. They're not lending you money that you'll have to pay back with interest. Instead, Zayzoon provides you with early access to a portion of the wages you have already earned during your current pay period. Think of it as bridging the gap between your workdays and your payday. The amount you can access through Zayzoon is primarily determined by a few key factors. 1. Your employer's integration with Zayzoon. This is the foundational element. Zayzoon works by partnering with your employer. Your employer needs to have integrated their payroll system with the Zayzoon platform for you to be eligible to use the service. This integration allows Zayzoon to securely verify your worked hours and calculate your earned wages in real time. If your employer isn't partnered with Zayzoon, unfortunately, you won't be able to access their services. So, the first step is always to check if your company offers Zayzoon as a benefit. 2. Your earned wages in the current pay period. The more hours you've worked within the current pay cycle, the more wages you've accrued, and consequently, the more you'll potentially be able to access through Zayzoon. The platform essentially looks at your accumulated earnings up to the point of your request. If you've only worked a few days into a 2-week pay period, the accessible amount will naturally be lower than if you're just a few days away from payday. 3. Zayzoon's internal limits and algorithms. Zayzoon employs its own set of algorithms and risk assessment models to determine the maximum amount an individual employee can access. These models take into account various factors, which may include your employment history, consistency of work hours, and potentially other proprietary data points to ensure responsible access to earned wages. While the exact details of these algorithms aren't publicly disclosed, for obvious security and competitive reasons, the underlying principle is to provide access while mitigating risk for both the employee and Zayzoon. 4. Potential employer-specific limits. In some cases, your employer might set specific limits on the maximum percentage or dollar amount of earned wages that employees can access through Zayzoon. This could be based on their internal policies or agreements with Zayzoon. It's always a good idea to check with your HR department or within the Zayzoon app itself to see if any such limits are in place for your company. 5. Transaction limits. Zayzoon may also have daily or per transaction limits on the amount you can withdraw. These limits are typically in place to prevent large, potentially risky withdrawals and to ensure the smooth operation of the platform. You might be able to make multiple withdrawals within a pay period, but each individual transaction will likely be subject to a maximum amount. Illustrative examples. Please note these are hypothetical and may not reflect actual Zayzoon limits. Let's consider a few scenarios to illustrate how these factors might play out. Scenario 1. Early in the pay period. Imagine you're paid bi-weekly, and you've just completed 3 days of work in a 10-day work period. Let's say your gross daily wage is $100. You've earned $300 so far. Zayzoon's algorithm, considering this early stage in the pay period, might allow you to access, say, 30% of your earned wages, which would be $90. Scenario 2. Closer to payday. Now, imagine it's the end of the second week, and you've worked 9 out of 10 days. Your earned wages are $900. In this case, Zayzoon's algorithm might allow you to access a higher percentage, perhaps 50% or even more, potentially giving you access to $450. Scenario 3. Employer limit. Let's say your employer has set a policy that employees can only access a maximum of $200 per pay period through Zayzoon, regardless of their earned wages. Even if Zayzoon's algorithm would allow you to access more, you would be capped at $200. Scenario 4. Transaction limit. Zayzoon might have a transaction limit of $100. If you wanted to access $300 of your earned wages, you might need to make 3 separate transactions, potentially spread out over a few days, depending on any daily limits. Important considerations. Fees. While Zayzoon isn't a loan with interest, they typically charge a small transaction fee for each withdrawal. This fee is usually a flat amount, regardless of the withdrawal size, within their limits. It's crucial to be aware of these fees and factor them into your decision-making process. Responsible use. Accessing your earned wages early can be a valuable tool in managing unexpected expenses or taking advantage of timely opportunities. However, it's essential to use such services responsibly and avoid relying on them for regular spending, as the accumulation of small transaction fees can add up over time. Impact on paycheck. When you access a portion of your earned wages through Zayzoon, that amount, along with any applicable fees, will be deducted from your regular paycheck on payday. It's important to be aware of this so you're not surprised by a smaller than expected paycheck. Eligibility. Eligibility for Zayzoon depends on your employer's participation and your status as an active employee. There might be a waiting period after you start a new job before you become eligible to use the service. How to find out your specific access limit. The best way to determine the exact amount of your wages you can access on Zayzoon is usually through the Zayzoon mobile application. Once you've signed up and connected your payroll information through your employer's integration, the app will typically display the available amount you can withdraw. This amount will fluctuate in real time as you work and earn more during your pay period. By understanding these factors, you can gain a clearer picture of how Zayzoon can work for you and make informed decisions about accessing your earned wages when you need them most. It's a tool designed to provide greater financial flexibility, but like any financial tool, it's best used with awareness and responsibility. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.